Warren Buffett said it best, it's not about how hard you row, but the boat that you're in. In reality, the people that I know that are making the most amount of money are not always the most skilled people that I know. They're just playing in a really good game. My favorite example of this is don't be a sales rep who's selling print media when you can be selling online advertising. Don't be someone in the early 2000s who is selling Blockbuster B2B versus Netflix. Be someone who can recognize where the industry is, where it's going, and make sure you play that to your advantage. I'll even take Warren Buffett's line a step further. It's not about how hard you row, it's about the boat that you're in, but is your boat going against or with the current? Are you trying to change the world and aggressively paddle as hard as you can in a good boat, but the current is completely going against you, meaning the market doesn't want it? Or can you put the boat in the water, not even paddle, and the current just pushes you forward to success?
Have you heard about Hormozi and like his conversation with Russell Brunson about gyms and gym launch and such? So this is like OG Hormozi days. He was at an event with Russell Brunson. This is when he was still a gym owner. And Russell told Hormozi, like, you have a level 7 or 8 skill level, but you're in a level 2 vehicle, which is owning gyms. Like realistically, it doesn't matter how good you are, you just can't make too much money if you own a gym. So that he said, what you need to do is you need to find a level 5, 6, 7 vehicle to level up to. Acquisition.com would call it a level 10 vehicle. Like that's $1 billion something play. But gym launch was the next vehicle stage of like, okay, let me take what I do and do something that's more scalable, more profitable, more repeatable than creating gyms. The way I look at it with you guys is I think you guys, from what I've seen, are very high. I couldn't say like you're level 9 or so skill level, but let's say just like Hormozi, level 7, 8 skill level, very, very good at what you do. But the market and the vehicle in the market that you guys are playing with just caps how high you can grow. And so I would probably say that you're at like a level 2 vehicle. So I think realistically, the main thing that we need to do is get you guys into
One of the skill sets I see in really good closers is not actually their ability to close, it's their ability to recognize what in the industry is popping off. A couple years ago, SMMA was the kind of offer to be on. At one point it was FBA, Amazon FBA. At one point it was drop shipping. At another point it became AI infrastructure. At one point it became content agencies. There's always something that is selling so much more easily than everything else. And closers, the best closers I know, are very good at recognizing what offer to be on and hopping to said offers. As a business owner, it's recognizing the same thing on a slightly zoomed out perspective, right? And so instead of focusing on whether or not you want to be in AI infrastructure or FBA or ecom, you can recognize that the last few years have been very heavy on B2C business opportunity vehicles.
You could make an agency just on ideation. I know this sounds crazy, but if you could actually be someone who says like your value add to a company is that you help them ideate on ideas for content based on their brand. So you get to know their brand, you get to know their audience, you get to know their offer, and you help them ideate content that can help them create a marketing or create content that can allow them to reel in. That is something that you could sell alone as your only thing. You have people who don't understand anything about social media. They just know they're supposed to be on it. And so they don't know anything about how to shoot content. They don't know anything about how to post content and such. But the game realistically is like finding the kind of ICP that you want to work with that's in the larger market. So realistically, what I would say is before you guys go from Estonia agency to like worldwide info, I think we go from Estonia agency to worldwide agency.
So you have to be able to understand what is happening in the industry and play to that and make sure you're putting your boat in a vehicle where the current is pushing you forward to success. If you started selling anything that had to do with AI in 2024 or late 2023, it wasn't hard to sell them because the entire industry, all the way to VCs who are funding massive startups, everyone wanted AI. I think toward the end of 2024 and definitely in 2025, AI is not going to be the hot craze. By the way, there's always an end to these trends. I started in 2022 selling ads, Facebook ads, and Facebook ads in 2022 was now on the latter end of the shoulder. I think at that point the peak had come down and it was becoming a little more normal. You were starting to see resistance in the market of, I don't like Facebook ads don't work. But a year or 2, 3 years before, in 2020, in 2018, 2019, we were still in that peak. That peak of Facebook ads are the new thing. You have to be using Facebook. You have to be advertising on Instagram and Facebook. It was the thing to do. And it wasn't hard to sell those offers. That's why you saw guys like Joel Kaplan and Ravi Abuvala creating massive numbers when they were still young in business, because realistically they rode a current that was so easy to push, and then they used that to fuel, and I'm not saying they're not great business people, but they use that to fuel the BizOps/B2B companies that they later founded down the road that allowed them to get into info when info was the new thing.
In most content companies or agencies that I see, there are really 4 things. There is strategizing, recording, editing, and then posting distribution. And it feels like you guys are doing all 4 currently with the clients you're with, correct? In what I've seen, realistically, there are kind of 3 ways to go about this to productize more. Number 1 is if you want to stay inside the language that you guys are currently working with clients on, on, then we continue to do all four and we just raise ticket price pretty heavily. That is very boutique, like small clientele base paying quite a bit of money, and you guys are giving them white glove Mercedes-Benz, like Ritz-Carlton, like treatment. Number two, just really doing all three except for recording. And that changes the type of people who we're working with. So right now, if you probably think about your ICP, it's people who really don't know much about content and trying to get into it. What you can also do if you're very good at the distribution and you're very good at the strategizing and such is you can work with people who already are creating content, but they want to systemize their creation even more. First two are agency, boutique agency. Secondary is like a hybrid of boutique and kind of more mass scale. Third is an info agency hybrid, meaning realistically, we kind of do what we talked about before, which is we have some kind of info product element and then we have some kind of agency element. The info product element could be you're working with the same kind of ICP of people who don't really know anything about content. The strategizing could be a very easy like agency element that you do for the group. And so like realistically, hey guys, like content that you can make this week would be like, here's like 30 ideas. Everyone plays off that. There could be an info product specifically around content creation. This is like what cameras we recommend. This is how you set up lighting. This is how you actually, shoot. This is what camera settings you should have, blah, blah, blah.
The main point that I'm trying to make in this entire video is that whatever you're doing in business, whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a sales rep, an operator, make sure you're doing something where the leverage is not just in the skill and knowledge you have, but the industry you're in and the offer that you have in that industry, in the market. You'll hear me in business talk about leverage often, and there are so many different types of leverage. You have time, you have resources, you have network, you have financials, you have a lot of different ways to leverage your time in business, but the one that is not commonly talked about is leveraging the right offer at the right time in the right market. And so realistically, one of the most effective things you can do today, if you watch this video, is just think to yourself, am I pushing against the current, trying to sell what I'm selling as a business or as a sales rep? Or is it something that people want and I can literally just drop my boat in the water and it just flows forward? Do the sales come easy? Are people asking for it? Are people looking for what I have? Or am I desperately trying to paddle as hard as I can to go against what the market is asking and against what the water is doing to try to get a boat to go forward? Am I in the right boat, but just at the wrong time? Am I going against current? Am I in the wrong boat at the right time? There's so many different ways. This analogy is such a beautiful analogy, but there's so many different ways to see. At the end of the day, are you doing something that is leveraging your time disproportionately just because of the vehicle and the boat and the current and the river that you're in? There's so many ways to break down this analogy, but the real question is, are you in the right boat, flowing with the river so that you get a disproportionate amount of return on your invested time? Hope this helps. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until next time, happy hunting.